Text them right now. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you. Call 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Again, that's 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Then here's a great idea. Donate your car and help veterans and their families. Yes, one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program and we'll come and remove your car for free. Fast, free towing, and 24-hour response. You can donate most cars, trucks, or SUVs in most conditions. The proceeds raised goes to help active military, veterans, and their families, and you get a tax deduction. All you need to do is make this free call. Get rid of that old car and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now and book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Donation Program now. Donate your car and help veterans and their families. Operators are standing by. Here's the number.
800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. That's 800-925-1596.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. On this Monday, there are big changes happening in American society, and some of us are very worried about the direction the country is taking. What is happening is that people are withdrawing into their own private worlds, and that's made easy by technology. You know that. You got your computer, you got your smartphone, you got YouTube and this and that and diversions all day long. So you really don't have to live in the real world if you do not want to. You do have to make a living. You have to go to work and get enough money to buy food and to have a place to sleep. But in your leisure time, you don't have to deal with anybody face to face if you don't want to. You can do it all by the machines. And what this does is it sets up an insensitivity to the plight of other people. So it used to be that every neighborhood in the country, everybody knew each other, they helped each other, they were friends, strong bonds. Somebody dies, everybody comes in and helps the family. A kid's in trouble, neighbors tell the parents about the kid in trouble. All of that coordination went on in America. That's traditional America. It's gone now in many places. In the small towns, you have a remnant of it, but in the big cities, it's vanished. So isolation is not good for a human being on any level. And these machines are robbing us somewhat of our American pride. It's something to think about. Interact with other people as much as you can. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. Jill Russell, Knoxville, Tennessee. Bill, I watch the No Spin News every day. What is Dr. Jill's role in conjunction with the monies given to her husband and son? No idea. But she lives in two nice houses, but I have no idea. And it's not fair for me to speculate. Mark, cancel. I used to love CNN News. So I wrote a column about how dishonest CNN is. It's on BillO'Reilly.com. Again, you don't have to be a member of anything. You can read the column. Drops every Sunday. I used to love CNN News, but when they started supporting BLM on every program, I won't watch them anymore. I also tried Fox News for a while, but their ideas were too far out there. Okay. That's why people are coming to us. They're not getting what they want on cable news. Jeffrey, Bill, what CNN did was vile. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. I hope you get even with them. I don't want to get even with them. I want to expose them. Not an honest agency anymore. Simply not. And I provide all the backup for that in the column that's posted on BillO'Reilly.com. Sean Whalen, Pineville, North Carolina. I was hoping CNN would change for the better when Discovery took over the company. Well, it looks like CNN has not changed, the same old place it's been for several years, in business for the Democrats. I think that's accurate. They're in business to help the Democratic progressive movement, no doubt, in my mind. Brenda Clark, The Woodlands, Texas. Last night's interview with Tucker Carlson was informative. Thank you for doing it. That's why I became a member the very first week you were in business. Well, thank you, Brenda. That's so nice of you. You were open and personable. It was informative and fun to watch. That's what we try to do. We want you to have information, but we make it fun. That's like Killing the Witches. We're going to get an awful lot of information out of that, but it's fun. Great Halloween book, not going to be able to put it down. In a moment, something you might not know. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or have no warranty at all, listen up. Car Shield has a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that's now available to the public. Save on out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. So please call Car Shield now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. 800-925-7584 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low in price. Drivers who activate the vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote, 800-925-7584, 800-925-7584. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-925-7584.
Be part of something big. Your City, Your Voice Town Hall, a rare event, is coming to the heart of our beloved St. Louis City. Imagine this, Attorney General Andrew Bailey and Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft in person, side by side, taking on your burning questions. It's October 12th. Come and ask the questions that keep you awake at night. It's your moment to be heard. Visit stlouisrepublicans.com for details.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s.
I should have been a cowboy.
Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks.
Let's go, girls.
Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com.
I'll go back.
Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa.
I love this station.
90s New Country streaming now.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. Today is Columbus Day in the USA. Well, parts of it anyway. 13 states have banished Columbus Day. However, the Italian explorer is widely acknowledged as the first European to formally discover the New World. The Vikings floated around, but nothing was made official. Recent polling says half of Americans do not know the true story behind Columbus's discoveries. Here's how the voyage of Chris really went down. After working as a sailor, Columbus believed he knew a better route to Asia. To reach the Far East, sail west. He lobbied monarchs across Europe, finally securing money from the Spanish crown. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella agreed to finance the trip, offering Columbus the title of governor for any territory he discovered along the way. In 1492, the 41-year-old captain set sail with a crew of 90 men. 5 weeks later, they made landfall on an island in the Caribbean. It was named San Salvador, which is now in the Bahamas chain. At first, Europeans thought they were in Japan. Writing about the Carib Indians he encountered, Columbus said, quote, "These men, wherever they are from, ought to make good servants, for they repeat very quickly whatever we say to them," unquote. In 1493, Chris returned to Spain. He was granted the title of Admiral of the Oceans. During his lifetime, Columbus led 3 more expeditions to the New World, but he never accomplished getting a western route to Asia. Chris died in 1506 at the age of 55. Historians believe he likely perished from arthritis. And here's something else you might not know. Columbus obviously is not as popular as he once was. According to a poll published by Newsweek, 80% of Americans under the age of 30 want to ditch Columbus Day for Indigenous Peoples Day. The swap would end the annual celebration that dates all the way back to 1792 and honors Italians in America. back after this. Hey, I want to tell you about Coin. That is spelled COIGN.com. It's America's only conservative credit card. Every time you use your credit card these days, you could be helping big banks give billions to liberal organizations like La Raza, BLM, the Clinton Foundation, and others. But now you can fight back. Coin offers unlimited cash-back rewards, world-class theft and fraud protection, and the ability to align your dollars with your values. Coin gives a portion of every dollar they earn to conservative charities that Coin card holders vote on. So learn more and apply for a Coin credit card at coin.com/O'Reilly. That's COIGN.com/O'Reilly. Please go to coin.com/disclosures for more information. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. The world coming to the aid of Israelis following the brutal murders of hundreds of innocent people Saturday morning.
And pulling, people out of their vans and shooting them, shooting entire families in their houses, killing 260 kids at a, rave musical concert. Pictures that have circulated on Israeli TV. I don't know if they're making it onto American TV.
Dr. Michael Oren, former deputy minister for diplomacy in the Israeli prime minister's office.
It's a small country. Proportionally speaking, it's something like 10 or 11 times what America lost on 9/11.
Israel, in the meantime, vowing to lay total siege to the Gaza Strip as it pounds the Hamas-ruled territory in the wake of that attack. Israel's vaunted military and intelligence apparatus apparently caught completely off guard early Saturday morning. Also at townhall.com, Michael O'Hanlon, the Director of Research for Foreign Policy with Brookings Institution, explains what the objective of Israel's announced complete siege of Gaza is and what it should be.
The idea is to do a thorough search of much of Gaza, even building by building in places, to look for a combination of weapons caches, but also leadership and headquarters and even sympathizers with Hamas.
And O'Hanlon adds, while many nations are sending military hardware and cash, he doubts other countries will get involved in the war, or as in boots on the ground. Also, the Israeli government has formally declared the war and given the green light for additional military steps. Some 48 hours after Hamas launched the attack, Israeli forces are beginning to crush the last groups of fighters holed up in several towns in southern Israel. More on these stories, townhall.com.
If you thank the pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Clear skies tonight will drop to 44 degrees. Sunny on Tuesday, a little warmer with a high of 71. Increasing clouds Tuesday night will drop to 52. And for Wednesday, there's a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly during the morning hours. The afternoon looks mostly sunny and warmer with a high of 79. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner, and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Hi, Sean Long for STL Fenceworks. STL Fenceworks is proud and excited to install American-made aluminum and vinyl fence products, as well as American-made decking. For instance, STL Fenceworks has teamed up with Jareth Manufacturing. Jareth invented the aluminum fence industry over 50 years ago. The Jareth product is wholly sourced and manufactured in the U.S., and STL Fenceworks is the third largest Jareth customer in the world. STL Fenceworks is vinyl fencing also, and not just white. We partner with National Vinyl Products to provide you with tan, clay, gray, and variegated wood grain vinyl fence products too, all made in the U.S. Not to be forgotten, STL Fenceworks is maintenance-free decking. STL Fenceworks is the #1 distributor of Wolf Cellular PVC in the Midwest, proudly manufactured in the U.S. and voted #1 maintenance-free decking product in the United States. Let STL Fenceworks make your outdoor space magical. Visit stlfenceworks.com today and learn how we can make your backyard dreams into a reality. At STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion.
Mystic Fix is sponsored by Kama Flight, redefining the dance between the masculine and feminine. Kama Flight is a somatic movement practice merging yoga, meditation, and massage. Workshops in 2023 are at the Chosen Retreat Center in Sebastian, Florida. For more, visit Kama Flight on Instagram at KAMAFLIGHT.
What happens next?
Donald Trump engaged in years of illegal conduct to inflate his net worth.
Happens right here.
It's a witch hunt. It's a disgrace.
1019 and 94.1.
And because I'm the only candidate they do not want to run against.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Not since the Holocaust have so many Jews been killed on one day. And not since the Holocaust have we witnessed scenes of Jewish women and children, grandparents, even Holocaust survivors, being herded into trucks and taken into captivity. Hamas has imported, adopted, and replicated the savagery of ISIS, entering civilian homes on Holy Day and murdering in cold blood whole families, young and old, violating and burning bodies, beating and torturing their innocent victims, Jews and Muslims and other faiths.
Welcome into the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. That was Isaac Herzog, Israel's president, giving his views, his thoughts on the massacre that happened over the weekend on the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. Welcome into the show. We will talk extensively about that, of course. That is the big issue of the day. My partner, Tim Jones, is out today, but joining me for a segment is my good buddy, Tony Colombo, from the previous show that you just listened to, Colombo and Katie. Happy Columbus Day, my friend. How are you?
Thank you very much. And yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for being on with us at the end of our show, and happy to be here to start yours.
All right, before we get into the massacre in Israel and
Please.
Hamas and all of that, I just have to ask you personally, how bad does it piss you off that Columbus Day has been changed to Indigenous People Day?
So
let it out, Tony.
As an Italian,
yes.
I have to say that unlike many Italians that live on the Hill, growing up, Columbus Day was not like like Italian Day in the Colombo household.
Right.
I mean, it was meaningful,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. So to answer your question, from just my personal standpoint, much like everything else in today's woke, politically correct society, I roll my eyes and get upset with, we can't, there's a lot of people that did a lot of that made their mark on American history for very good reasons, but we're not perfect people by a long stretch. And I would rather we just teach the full story of history than start to try to eliminate pieces of it as we go along.
Tony, I have to be honest with you. I was hearing last week when on some of the podcasts that I was listening to, and other people saying next week was Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. It was Monday. Yeah. And so, I thought they were just being politically correct.
No.
I don't
if
know.
You look at your calendar, your built-in calendar on your phone.
Where have I
the
been?
Built-in holidays.
When did it change? Because I thought it was.
I think maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
It's a brand new thing.
Because I thought they were being politically correct.
They put it on top of Columbus Day.
But it's officially changed. There's no longer a Columbus Day.
Well, it's both, I think.
Okay.
I think it's both. I think it's recognized as both. I think.
Okay.
See, there you go. That's how ridiculous things are, because I know that certain buildings are closed today.
Yeah.
And everybody that I've heard from have said that that have been impacted by that have said that they're closed because of Columbus Day. That's how they've said. That's what I've been told. We're closed because of Columbus Day, not because of Indigenous People Day. But I do believe that federally it's recognized as both. I think. This is a ridiculous world.
It is. I mean, let the Italians have their holiday. African Americans have two holidays. We have Juneteenth. We have Martin Luther King Day. We have a whole month with Black History Month. Following that, I think, is Female History Month. And then after that, I think it's LGBT.
When does the Italians come in? When do we get our part?
You've lost it.
We've lost it.
You had Columbus Day.
We've lost it.
Little frivolity there, Tony, before we get into the very serious issues.
Can I say
happened.
I'm so glad that you played that sound at the beginning, because I think that is the kind of thing that people need to hear. I don't know. We were talking about this on Columbo and Katie. Katie was saying, how horrible it is to turn on your social media right now and have to be exposed to these terrible pictures and videos. And while I agree that there should be some kind of warning, that shouldn't just be thrust upon you unknowingly, especially graphic images like that. I think it's important that people see those images and hear that sound from Israel's president that you played at the beginning here, because it was an astonishing. I had not heard that. I'm so glad that you played that, because that really does encapsulate and really drive home what a tragedy and what a big monumental tragedy and attack that was, that the most Jews killed in one day since the Holocaust. And put that into perspective. That's incredible.
And talk about just the most Jews killed, just the barbarism of what went on this past weekend. I heard a story over when I was coming in on a podcast. Just imagine, Tony, learning that your loved one was killed because one of the terrorists used your loved one's phone to videotape their murder live on Facebook.
Unbelievable.
I mean, just imagine that. That's how you found out that your loved one has been murdered, because these these horrible barbarians uploaded a live video of the murder on that person's Facebook page. I mean, this is just beyond. And
then the threat this afternoon put out by Hamas that for every missile launched from this point on, they will execute an Israeli hostage on live television.
And this is the day that I'm sad that it's a sad day, but I'm glad that today we have former Senator Jim Talent, who we talked to about military and foreign affairs. He's an expert of that. Of course, he's a former United States Senator.
Could not have a better person to talk to today than Senator Talent.
Exactly. And he is chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. He has been very close to Israel during his political career. He has also been a very strong advocate for Israel while he was in Congress and his post-congressional career. So it'll be very intriguing to get his views on this. Tony, the preliminary evidence. Well, let's go back to this. This is to show, the Biden administration is getting a lot of blame for this, especially that $6 billion that was given to them just a few months ago. But do you know at the beginning of this assault by the Palestinians that the our administration put out a press release telling the Israelis to stand down? And then it was retracted once they saw that this was a full air, land, and sea invasion. But that was our first response, was to tell the Israelis to stand down while their loved ones are being kidnapped and taken to Gaza. And we've also heard reports today that Hamas, the militant organization, has beheaded Israeli soldiers. They're already murdering people. And so what was really offensive to me when you watched the Sunday shows yesterday, Anthony Blinken, our Secretary of State, was talking about, well, we don't know definitively. We can't be sure if it's Iran, even though a Wall Street Journal article had representatives from Hamas basically saying we did it. We were responsible. We planned it.
Yes. Yeah. Everything you just said is such a great point. And I hope you touch on the $6 billion with Senator Talent. We just had Dakota Wood from the Heritage Foundation on with us. I asked him about that because, there's a lot of defenders of the president that will say, no, that
defies common sense.
That money is being tracked and it can only be used for humanitarian purposes. But as Dakota Wood just explained, and you don't need an expert. You need an expert to shine details on a lot of this, but you don't need an expert to know that if a country or your own house, just apply it to your own budget. If you get $6 billion influx of money, and now you can use that $6 billion on something that you were had to pay for before. Now you can take that money that you were using before and apply that somewhere else. So yeah, maybe it's not literally the exact same dollar bills that are being used, but of course, and Dakota Wood just pointed this out too, of course that $6 billion that the Biden administration gave to Iran is available to Hamas to help fund this attack.
It's
even if they have people watch.
It's like going down to Best Buy and buying a big screen TV because you got that income tax check coming later. So you know what? I'll put it on credit. I'll move some money around and get what I want because I know I've got this money coming. And I think it's similar to that with this. They know they've got $6 billion of money coming, so we can go ahead and spend the money that we may have been saving for humanitarian aid. We can go ahead and use that on the military because we know we've got this money that's specified for that. And you listen to the administration officials and Anthony Blinken, and they act like we're fools that they're saying, well, there's no connection between that money. It hasn't been spent yet. And, Fox was the only one. I give them credit. They were the only one that pushed back on the fungibility of money. But he still stuck to that same argument and say that the argument that we're making is a fallacious argument, not theirs.
They really do count on the ignorance of the American people to try to get away with everything. And luckily, they are being called on it by the American people more and more lately because they are talking to us like we are children. And I've said this on our show before too. Here's another, I think, perfect example of a day where, as we mentioned when I held Chris on to Columbo and Katie at the end, I know you do a better job than anybody I know at tracking the president and his daily movements and his job. When they did the famous lid this morning at 11:45 a.m. And I've said this about people like Vladimir Zelensky. Like him or not, agree with him or not, when you see a leader like Zelensky or you see a leader like Netanyahu, you see somebody that you can at least understand why their people might have confidence in them being a strong. They're going to make a decision and they're going to stick to it and they're going to see it out. When you compare our president to those other leaders, again, I'm not talking about their issue, like their opinions or their beliefs on the issues. I'm just talking about the way that they carry themselves and the leadership that they project.
Yeah.
Biden looks old and weak and indecisive and like a pushover, where these other leaders look like they are they're in control
and
they have
a
direction.
And it all starts with Afghanistan, with that horrific bombing that happened at the gate where we lost a local soldier here, and it's really been downhill ever since. That was a signal, many believe, that was sent to Putin to go ahead and invade Ukraine and take whatever other territory that you want. Tony, I'm very worried when you look at this situation in Israel right now, because not only is Hamas shooting missiles into Israel and was fighting in the southern part of Israel, but now Hezbollah in the northern part of Israel, they shot some rockets into Israel as well. So you could be looking, in the State Department, the Biden administration, to their credit, has been warning other actors not to start a second front in this war. But you have that situation, and you also have the Taliban, who have said that they want to come and fight in this war. And there's pictures circulating, and I don't know how authenticated they are, if they have been, but there are weapons of these Palestinian terrorists holding American weapons that, if you remember, Tony, we left a whole lot of weapons in Afghanistan after that pullout. Are those same weapons being used now against Israeli and Israeli Americans?
The answer to that question is probably almost for sure yes. And I think it's such a good point that I'm sure you'll touch on with Jim Talent here, and what you just illustrated. Think about all of that you just pointed out. Also, we have the situation in Ukraine. We have cartels in Mexico bringing crime across our border on a daily basis, and the world's waiting to see what China's going to do. Like, America right now is spread thin,
and Tony,
and our enemies know it.
And how worried are you? Look, our intelligence, Israeli intelligence, everyone has said has failed, that they were totally caught unaware of this. Just think, we have a freaking wide open border, our southern border. They're finding prayer rugs in the desert. We don't know who's into this country. We don't know if weapons have been smuggled underneath these tunnels with the cartel, that there may be sleeper cells all around this country, just waiting for the nod from Iran to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this should really, really make us want to secure our border after this surprise attack on Israel.
Amen. Because if Israel's got one strength, it's that. It's defense. And they were caught off guard by this
completely.
And if that can happen to Israel, it can certainly happen to the United States. And again, all the more reason to stick around and hear what Jim Talent has to say.
One of the questions that I want to ask Jim Talent coming up is, how does this invasion of Israel affect arms being supplied to Ukraine?
Yeah.
The President Biden has made a
question.
commitment that Israel will receive whatever they need. We've already talked about the stockpiles of our own weapons have been low.
Depleted.
Now we may be having to give weapons to Ukraine and Israel. And I'm sorry, man, I think when it comes between Ukraine and Israel, I think the money's going to be on Israel to get that. That's going to get that support.
You know where I wish the money
not
was?
Ukraine.
On the United States.
I hear you, brother, at our own border.
Yeah, amen.
Tony, thank you for sitting in, man.
bet,
I enjoyed
buddy.
it.
Really
Weekend
appreciate
Report.
it. Weekend
Report in the house.
You know it, dude.
When we come back, Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator, chairman of the Reagan Institute National Leadership Council. Of course, we'll talk to him about the Israeli invasion, Ukraine, and other foreign policy matters. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Clear skies tonight. Will drop to 44 degrees. Sunny on Tuesday, a little warmer with a high of 71. Increasing clouds Tuesday night will drop to 52. And for Wednesday, there's a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly during the morning hours. The afternoon looks mostly sunny and warmer with a high of 79. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I don't know where I would get the truth if it weren't for you.
Live and local.
Welcome to the People's Republic of America stand.
Here comes another roller coaster, another circus.
This is News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here. Were you sitting around the kitchen table over the weekend with your spouse or significant other thinking about a very important life decision? Was it involving the selling of your home, your most prized possession for just about all of us, right? Well, I want you to call the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway, Rodney and Jen Wallner at 314-810-SOLD if you're even thinking about it, because they will help you with the process from the very beginning until the very end and beyond. The Wallners will offer you a flexible commission plan tailored to your family-specific needs. They're selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical realtor. Therefore, they've got so many approved home buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. No obligation, no long-term commitment in all of those very flexible commission plans that they'll offer you. If you ever get unhappy, simply change your mind. No questions asked, you can walk away. Rodney and Jen can help you on both sides of the river. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, and they're a husband and wife team. You get a very unique family perspective, not just that of one agent. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team today for a free listing consultation. Sell your home with this top-producing real estate team, Rodney and Jen Wallner. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
I'm here with Dr. Howard Wall. And, you know, Howard, when it comes to international trade, that's taken a lot of political hits lately, but you economist types just still really like international trade.
Well, you know, most importantly, trade makes everyday Americans better off by giving them access to the best and lowest priced goods in the world. This allows us to focus on goods we're most competitive at making, and that raises productivity and wages for most everybody. You know, and half of imports are used to make other goods, so trade actually helps our own manufacturers. Look, trade's been one of the main reasons the U.S. has become as rich as it is. I don't think we should replace free trade with centrally planned trade run by Washington.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
I'm Susie Moore, and this is More to the Point.
I am trained to see both sides. In addition to being raised with the moral imperative of empathy and learning to walk a mile in others' shoes, I had to learn to see the other side's viewpoint and make the other side's arguments in order to be an effective debater and litigator. Playing devil's advocate is second nature to me. But I can't see it here. I can't see the rationale for slaughtering innocent civilians. I can't wrap my brain around snatching women and children from their homes to use as hostages or human shields. I can't see any justification for attacking, brutalizing, and murdering peace-loving concertgoers. I can't fathom taking to the streets to celebrate this unspeakable evil, or slyly offering words of tepid condemnation from the halls of Congress. I do know that there are thousands of innocents trapped and at the mercy of their so-called leaders. I know that there will be innocents who pay the price for the wicked ways of others. And I also know that there is no one beyond redemption, that any and all things are possible with God, that the answer to hatred and destruction and evil is God's love and mercy and grace. I'm going to focus as much as I can on that, because I surely cannot see the other side.
Susie Moore is Deputy Managing Editor for RedState.com. For more to the point and everything Susie Moore, log on to RedState.com. Follow Susie on Twitter at SmoozyQ and keep listening to 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
There's a little black spot on the sun today. It's the same old thing as yesterday.
We are also very, very closely coordinating with Israeli officials about the status of American citizens. We sadly know that a few have been killed. We also know that there are many more that are unaccounted for. We don't know where they are. We don't know what condition they're in. And nothing's more important to us than their safety and security. So we're going to stay lashed up with Israeli officials on that as well.
And welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. That is John Kirby giving his impression of the Hamas attacks. It is Monday, and we have a great voice on the other line to give us more perspective on this sad event that happened over the weekend. Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent and chairman of the Reagan Institute.
I'm watching this and just wondering, who's running the show.
This Jim Talent segment is brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri.
Senator Talent, welcome into the Monday edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. I sure wish it was under happier circumstances, but happy Indigenous Persons Day, Senator.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Yeah, it's a tragic and very dangerous time in the Middle East right now. And funny, when we talked over the weekend, we had no idea this was coming. Mm-hmm. Here it is.
One of the criticisms after this attack is the surprise aspect of it. U.S. intelligence, Israel intelligence seem to be completely unaware of this attack. How do you explain that, Senator? And should it give us cause here in the United States, because we have an open border, that there may be people already in our country that want to do us harm?
Well, yes, to the last question. The Israelis were fooled, and I assume we were too. And it's hard to fool Israeli intelligence, but Hamas ran a covert operation. I mean, they presented as being not in one of their, episodic, violent sort of episodes. And meanwhile, they were training terrorists to go in and do what they've done. And it was a very well-organized operation. I mean, they used hang gliders to get people behind the barrier. They blew open holes in the barrier. And then I guess they had about 1,000 people come in and shoot and rape and maim people and kidnap kids and all the things, that they do that they think makes them heroic. And the Israelis got caught a little flat-footed, but they're not flat-footed now. And we'll see what they do.
Senator, the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has ordered a full siege of the Gaza Strip. They're saying that there's going to be no fuel, no food, no electricity. What should we expect to see from that, and what will we see with that type of operation?
Well, I think they're going to work through stages. The Israelis are. The first is to get the terrorists that are inside the security wall, and I think they've about wrapped that up. They've been targeting, using the Air Force to target a lot of Hamas assets in Gaza. That's ongoing. Yes, they're cutting off electricity and other things to Gaza. And then I think we're going to see almost certainly a ground effort, whether it'll be taking the whole Gaza Strip, which is not that big, or whether they'll create a huge buffer zone. I think that they're going to aim at eliminating Hamas's military capabilities and terrorist capabilities. And I think if they do, it's going to take them a couple months. It's going to be very important for the United States, above all else, to provide diplomatic support. Because you're going to start seeing people, if we haven't already, start saying, oh, well, the Israelis deserve this, they're occupiers, that sort of thing. So they really need the strong support of the United States.
Speaking with Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Senator, the last couple of weeks, there's been much talk about a potential peace deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel. How badly does this invasion, which is backed by Iran, derail that peace plan? The condolences that came from the Arab world were not as strong as I would have liked. But how badly does this damage the peace process?
I think that's one of the $64 questions, as my dad used to say, Chris. And I don't know the answer to that. There are very strong reasons sounding in national interest why the Saudis were moving in the direction they were moving, and those are not going to go away because of this. As a matter of fact, since everybody knows that Iran sponsored this, it actually is another reason for the Saudis to conclude an agreement. In other words, their major concern is Iranian aggression, and this is just an example of that. But at the same time, it's going to be difficult for them to move ahead with this while Israel is fighting in Gaza and taking care of Hamas. So that's another area where American diplomacy could do some good if our folks in the State Department can muster the ability to do it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we'll see with that. I think that's one of the reasons this happened, that Iran did it. I think they fear that kind of a rapprochement between Israel and Saudi Arabia. I mean, Israel is the most powerful country in the Middle East, and Saudi Arabia is certainly, in terms of the wealth it has, the most powerful of the Arab countries. And so, that's something that Iran doesn't like. That's probably one of the reasons they green-lighted this.
Senator, how worried are you that there could be a possible dual front in this war? Hezbollah has fired rockets into Israel. Taliban fighters have said that they want to join the fight. There have been pictures I've seen of Taliban fighters and other militants with American weapons. If Israel had to fight a two-front war, what would we be looking at?
Yeah, that would be a real problem because Hezbollah is much more sophisticated than Hamas. They have, the estimates are like 150,000 rockets. They also have much better air defenses, so it's going to be harder to take those out. And the Israelis, I'm sure, are very concerned. That's one of the reasons for the full mobilization. They want to have all the reserves ready. But I don't think we should look for that. You'll notice the United States has an aircraft carrier now steaming to be offshore. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying we should get involved in a war like that, but the possibility of American air support or missile support for the Israelis is there, and that's not something Iran or Hezbollah is going to want. So we'll see what they do. It's the big concern for Israel.
Senator,
on the other hand, and this, I was going to say, I've said for years to people that one of the reasons why we want to help Israel be secure is that they're not going down this time without a fight. This is not like it was 70 years ago, when they walked under the railroad cars. If they're going to fight, and we don't want to see this become some enormous regional conflagration. That wouldn't be good for anybody.
Senator, as you alluded, the USS Gerald R. Ford is heading to the region, and I'm wondering, will America, the United States, unfortunately get more involved in this war because some of the hostages that were taken had dual citizenship? They were Israeli and American. Yeah. Will that make us more likely to get into a conflict?
It's possible. It's standard procedure when the United States wants to show its visibility and its presence to send an aircraft carrier. One of the reasons we need more aircraft carriers, Chris, because we don't have the coverage we ought to have. They are going to be there if needed. They have a lot of capabilities. Now, I don't think anybody has that in view. It would be nice and I like what the administration has said to this point, but I think it probably would be good if the president said something officially pretty soon, identifying what America's position was and restating support for Israel. So we'll see what he does.
Senator, how bad of timing is this for Ukraine? There's already been waning, it seems to be, support in the United States to keep funding the war. President Biden said over the weekend that the United States will give Israel whatever they need, money, moral support, all of that. Will support for Ukraine kind of go by the wayside now that there's a major war in the Middle East?
Yeah, well, that would be a bad reason to do it. In other words, we have to be able to deal with different threats at the same time. We just don't have the luxury of not being able to walk and chew gum. So, as I've said often, I mean, there are arguments against continued American support for Ukraine. I am not persuaded by them as of yet, but we ought to decide that on its merits, not say, well, we're just too busy to do two things at the same time. That isn't true, and it certainly shouldn't be true. And we don't want our adversaries to think it's true either, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want people to think that we can't deal with different threats. It is one reason to have sufficient capacity. In other words, to have robust tools of power, because you don't always get to choose when you're going to deal with a threat to your interests.
Senator, I have to ask you, is Turkey our ally or not our ally? And the reason that I ask that is because last week a disturbing story about a Turkish drone that was flying near our troops in Syria. We've remember before that they buy weapons from the Union, from Russia, who is our enemy. Turkey is supposed to be a NATO ally of ours, right? But why are they taking these type of actions?
Right, and they restrict our use of the air base that we have there. You have put your finger on a real problem that we can't, I think, just keep ignoring. We're going to have to figure out what to do about Turkey, because they are supposedly a NATO ally, and yet they're consistently acting in a provocative way. Erdogan is playing to his domestic audience. So far, we've had several American presidents, including President Trump, think it's better to have them on the inside of the tent, pissing out than on the outside pissing in. And I think there's some logic to that. There's an issue. I'm sorry if that I shouldn't.
No, you're good.
Pardon my French, as people say. But LBJ used to say that. It's a very colorful expression. It's not the most colorful thing he ever said either, right? So far, I can accept that logic, and I'm not sure what we would do about it. That's part of the problem, right? Because we do kind of. It's not only because they're a NATO ally; it's because of the strategic significance of Turkey. It's the connection between Europe and the Middle East. It's right on the Black Sea. So, for now we have to kind of put up with this, but it would be nice if there was a long-term plan for dealing with it.
Senator, I have a theological, geopolitical question for you. Those of us that are Christians believe that we are living in the last days, and scriptures tell us that the great battle will be over Israel and in the Middle East. Should those of us of the Christian faith be reading our Bible and have a newspaper in the other hand at the same time?
Well, I don't know that what's happening in the Middle East is particularly dictates the answer to that question. Yeah, I mean, I think we ought to stay close to God, and we ought also to do our responsibility as citizens and try and stay informed. I don't think Christians have I don't think Christians have an obligation to be politically active, but they do have an obligation, I think, to be thoughtful about public affairs and cast a thoughtful vote. So, yeah, I would stay informed. But I treat these issues basically as public policy issues, not as theological issues. I've always been a supporter of Israel, and I think there is one of the reasons for it is there is a sort of moral obligation arising from what happened in the Holocaust, but mostly it's for reasons of national interest. I mean, I used to say all the time that if we didn't have an ally like Israel in the Middle East, we'd be trying to invent one like Israel. So it doesn't mean that our interests coincide exactly with theirs and that there is no conflict. Their approach to China, for example, they have to play those issues differently than we play them. But there is a tremendous commonality of interest and a huge benefit from working with them, and we ought to stand unreservedly behind them now.
Final question for you, Senator. I must ask you about the upcoming speaker's race. Republicans are hoping to have a conference tomorrow and elect a new speaker by Wednesday. Reports that I am reading says that will likely not happen. I want to get your opinion on that. Could there be a speaker this week? And how badly is not having a speaker affecting our ability to help Israel in this current crisis?
Well, it's interesting because we've never gone through this before where a speaker's been removed. I'm not actually certain how much that disables what the House can do. I mean, from a formal standpoint, a process standpoint. But this is ridiculous. And the people who have been resisting the normal process need to stop. I mean, the majority party has a vote, chooses a leader, and the leader becomes the speaker. And it's a baseline obligation of being part of a party to vote for your nominee. And if you don't, you need to have a reason that everybody can understand in 15 seconds. It can't be, well, I don't like them or they're too weak or something like that. It has to be, something where people go, well, yeah, we get that. This is a tremendous mistake. And they don't have anything like that. So we need to turn our attention to the big issues. Obviously, the Middle East is one of them now. There's a whole host of other things that are going to get impaired if we don't resolve this. So, yeah, I'm as frustrated as I think most people are with this group. And they need to get back on board. If they have specific demands, we need to know what they are. And it needs to be something people can give them, okay? Mm-hmm. Not change the world overnight, because you can't do that.
And one final question for you. With the turmoil that is currently going on in the Middle East, we've got the war in Russia and between Russia and Ukraine. Is the Chinese president eyeing Taiwan? Maybe this is a kind of turmoil. This is the best time to invade.
Well, there's always that danger, which is the reason why you want to have a lot of residual capability to deal with a second or a third level problem. Now, I don't think so. I don't think the Chinese like what's happening in the Middle East. They don't want a lot of instability there, and they play both sides pretty effectively. So I think they're likely to they may even cooperate in the UN. It's going to be interesting to see. The Russians probably won't. The Chinese might. And I think the real area, we're at a permanently state of higher risk of a conflict over Taiwan. But I think if you want to look ahead to where it may go up, it's the Taiwanese elections for president in January. If they elect, as I think they will, the current party, which is a party more strongly in favor of, separation from the mainland, I think the risk will go up at that point.
Excellent as always, Jim Talent, former senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Thank you so much for your insight today, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's good to have him on today, especially when we have so much geopolitical stuff going on in the world. He served on the House Armed Services Committee, the Senate, and the House, so he really knows his stuff. When we come back, Joy, we're going to talk more about this Israeli invasion and just how they did it. Apparently it was done into 4 parts, and we'll go over that next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Clear skies tonight will drop to 44 degrees. Sunny on Tuesday, a little warmer with a high of 71. Increasing clouds Tuesday night will drop to 52. And for Wednesday, there's a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly during the morning hours. The afternoon looks mostly sunny and warmer with a high of 79. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Rockets continue to rain down on Israel, and leftists continue to blame Israel. We've got the updates for you on Tuesday's show.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
Well, it's October. We're about to enter the season for giving. All kinds of anniversaries, weddings, birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, whatever it may be. If you need to find something really special for someone in your life, if you want to create something special, you need to go to our one-stop shop, Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, the home of the Wow Diamond, wowdiamonds.com. Newstetter's, our neighborhood jewelry store since 1961. Richard and his team, his multi-generational family team, take great pride in being local, family-owned here in St. Louis. Honest Jewelry Solutions, like I said, for over 50 years. What kind of services do they offer? What kind of stuff? Everything under the sun. All jewelry repair, master engraving. Richard is one of the last master engravers in the entire country. He can make stuff for you. He does it all in-house. Just a fantastic craftsman indeed. Jewelry appraisals, fine watch sales and repairs. They got some cool watches in there. Pearl and bead restringing, quality ring resizing, so much more. Open weekdays 10 a.m. to 5:30, Saturdays 10 a.m. to 3. Your one-stop jewelry shop at Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, wowdiamonds.com. That's wowdiamonds.com.
Hey, it's Monday. That means great pizza at a great price. All 4 Steph's Pizza locations make Monday great again with a 16-inch large pizza for just the price of a small. You heard right. It's a classic large Steph's Pizza, however you would like it, for the price of a small. All 4 locations of Steph's Pizza are making Mondays great again. And hey, look, it just happens to be Monday. Check it out at stephspizza.com.
Get ready for winter by making sure your family is warm and safe when the bone-chilling weather gets here. Mike Ferguson here for Anton's Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Energy Experts. Call them today to get your furnace tune-up. It's only $89, and it could save you hundreds or even thousands by preventing a breakdown. 314-338-3941 or antonshvac.com. Anton's installed our HVAC system, and we love it. Put their expertise and excellent customer service to work for you, just like they did for my house. antonshvac.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
As the snow flies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Cause if there's one thing she don't need is another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto.
We cannot repeat what happened in Afghanistan. It must be clear that we do not negotiate with terrorists, and no American will be left behind. Biden's policy on appeasement, including money for hostage deals, must come to an end. His policy has only emboldened terrorists. And handing over $6 billion to Iran only helps the cause. In explaining that to members of Congress, they said they had provisions to refreeze the money if Iran has done something wrong. They should freeze the money back today.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. That is former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, still keeping a high profile since his ouster last week. There are reports, Joey, that there are those that are calling for his return to the speakership because of what's happened in Israel and the lack of possibly funding them. Reports are that he is considering it, but if you couldn't lead in the first place, how are you going to lead now? It would seem pretty difficult. I think it was the Washington Post or maybe it was the Wall Street Journal. I should put this down on here where I get these sources. They talked about how this operation Hamas pulled off happened. One, they said that Hamas constructed a mock Israeli settlement in Gaza where they practiced a military landing and trained to storm it, a source close to Hamas said, and adding they even made videos of the maneuvers. Now, I think this is part of the intelligence crackdown. You would think, as volatile as the Middle East region is, that there would be satellites focused on that area of the world. and that there would be satellite images or pictures of something of what it seems like are militants practicing an invasion, possibly and probably of Israel. I mean, that's a monumental failure to me, and that stood out to me, that they were able to construct a mock Israeli settlement, and the Israeli and American forces did not see it. As I said, the operation was divided into 4 parts. The first move was a barrage of 3,000 rockets from Gaza that coincided with incursions by fighters who flew hang gliders over the border. And I've seen video of these kids at this rave concert. All of a sudden, there's people paratrooping into the event to kill them. It's amazing. Number 2, the fighters on hang gliders secured the terrain so an elite commando unit could storm the fortified electronic and cement wall that divides Gaza from the settlements. The fighters used explosives to breach the barriers and then sped across on motorbikes. Bulldozers widened the gaps, and more fighters entered on 4-wheel drives. Number 3, a commando unit attacked the Israeli Army southern Gaza headquarters and jammed its communications, preventing personnel from calling commanders or each other, the sources said. That's, I'm sure, when the Monday morning quarterback comes about, that's going to be one issue that's going to be talked about, is how this headquarters, southern Gaza headquarters, was overrun by these militants. And number 4, the final part, of course, is moving the hostages to Gaza. And I know many of you have seen the heartbreaking images of old women on golf carts being sent to Gaza. I saw one video where a young mother was kidnapped, and she was placed on a motorbike and was sandwiched between 2 terrorists and was on her way to captivity. We've seen reports, or I've seen videos of Israeli soldiers. I don't know if they were alive or dead, but they're in the back of pickup trucks that are being beaten by people. We've also had reports that Hamas, like their barbarian cousins, the Taliban, are executing people, beheading Israeli soldiers. We've heard instances of rape that have gone on since this. This is a truly terrible, terrible thing. I was 7 years old, the 1973 Yom Kippur War, so I don't really remember it, but that was 50 years ago. That was the biggest loss of life of Israelis, of Jewish people, since the Holocaust. And this is just an amazing development that, you know, we're upwards of close to 1,000 people have been killed. All of them, most of them, have been civilians. This was not like the 73 war, where you had Syria and I think Egypt invaded Israel with soldiers in uniforms. This was a brazen terrorist attack that was focused solely on civilians, and that is just terrific. I don't, you know, I guess they aren't worried about public opinion or trying to sway people to your side, because I don't see how they could ever get the world's sympathy committing acts like this. Now, of course, we know that there are bad actors at the UN who, you know, China won't say anything bad about this. They'll block any type of resolutions to condemn Hamas or condemn the Palestinians or condemn any of these terrorists. We know that will happen, but just a truly sad affair. And on a personal note, you know, I live in U City in an Orthodox area. I see them on Friday, Saturday, walking to the temple. And I just felt compelled, and I'm not looking for any hand praise or anything like that, but I just felt compelled seeing them walking yesterday to say my heart grieves for you and grieves for Israel. And this was just a horrible, horrible thing that no people, no person deserves to be massacred in that way. So sad events. This is a story that's not going to be going away anytime soon. We're going to have 2 major wars going on in the world simultaneously pretty soon. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
gathers round an angry young man face down in the street with a gun in his hand in the ghetto. And as her young man dies,
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion from the voices you know and trust. News Talk STL at 1019, 941, and newstalkstl.com.
Cybersecurity sounds so intimidating and is such a big deal right now more than ever because we use our phones and we use our computers and we use technology every single day to store our data and to store our internet and to make sure everything is safe. That is why you should partner with ThrottleNet, throttlenet.com. If you are a business and you have control over clients' information, your information that's very, very sensitive, ThrottleNet provides world-class managed IT services and IT support for organizations in St. Louis and throughout Missouri. Partner with this award-winning team with over 20 years of quality service. ThrottleNet is proud to be named the top 500 in the world for 7 years in a row. And their bottom line is that they work hard for their customers, and it's proven in the results of their average response time to support tickets. Learn more at throttlenet.com. That's throttlenet.com, or shoot them an email at info@throttlenet.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
So what's going on?
Right here.
To me, this looks like the run-up to World War II.
News Talk STL.
They're playing with fire. Democrats are destroying the country.
News, analysis, opinion. News, analysis, opinion. News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 941, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. Leaders from all around the world continue to blast the cold-blooded murderers who raped and killed innocent women and children in Israel.
This is barbarism. This isn't even a clash of civilizations. Okay, there's no equal civilization here. It's a clash between civilization and medieval barbarism.
Dr. Michael Oren, former deputy minister for diplomacy in the Israeli prime minister's office.
We have known for years that Iran has been providing not just financial aid and backing to Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Islamic Jihad is wholly owned and operated by Iran, but Iran also trains Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists. About 99% of the rockets they fire at us are actually made in Iran.
Death count could reach, officials now say, 1,000 Israelis, 11 Americans among the dead. Also, at townhall.com, taking a flight into Israel just got a lot harder.
American Airlines, United Airlines, and Delta Airlines have lifted services as the State Department issued travel advisories for the region, citing potential for terrorism and civil unrest. United says it allowed 2 scheduled flights out of Tel Aviv late Saturday and early Sunday and accommodated its customers, crews, and employee travelers who were at the airport. Delta adds its Tel Aviv flights have been cancelled into this week. The airline says it's monitoring the situation and making adjustments accordingly. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Throughout the region, of course, destruction and devastation everywhere. Right now, Israeli Rescue Service, Zaka, says more than 100 bodies have been recovered from a very tiny farming community that was the scene of a hostage standoff during the Hamas attack. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt, I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it it when you called Trinity because it was such a relief, less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself because once I called Trinity, they took care of me and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
Bible. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Clear skies tonight will drop to 44 degrees. Sunny on Tuesday, a little warmer with a high of 71. Increasing clouds Tuesday night will drop to 52. And for Wednesday, there's a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly during the morning hours. The afternoon looks mostly sunny and warmer with a high of 79. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Tony Colombo here with a great offer from Zero Res. Just mentioned the Colombo special. When you book a cleaning in October, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 plus $50 off an air duct cleaning. We've trusted Zero Res with our home for years, and 5,000 Google reviews with an average of 4.9 out of 5 says it all. Zero Res is the best when it comes to cleaning any surface in your home. Just remember to mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com. This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We know in our hearts and our souls and our work that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. We are the ones who stand against hate. We are the ones who bring people together unified. We are the ones who believe nobody should be made to fight alone. We have strength on our side. We have competency on our side. What we are doing is popular with the American people.
Wow. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. That is Vice President Kamala Harris, who was in St. Louis last Friday. And I knew that she was going to be in town last week, but I forgot what day it was going to be. And, Joy, I was wondering why I was hitting all of these different traffic jams on the way home. I would take a detour. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm good. I'll take this way. It would be backed up. And then when I was almost home, that's when what made me realize it as I went over an overpass as I was going home, and there was a U-City cop that was over the 170 overpass. So that's when it hit me. I was like, oh, okay, this is what they do. You know, he's stationed there. Kamala Harris is in town. But, boy, that was very inconvenient. What about you?
It didn't affect me, but yeah, I think some people were wondering if there was going to be a procession for maybe a fallen officer, and they were ready to pay their respects, and they saw it was Kamala, and then they spit out their window, some of them.
You know, a lot of people speculate that the visit of Kamala Harris to St. Louis on Friday was the reason, Joy, why the tent city in front of City Hall was taken down. Would you believe a conspiracy like that? Can you imagine that?
They were so emotional, like Tashara Jones and Megan Green, about how they need to treat the homeless people with respect, but they swept them out real quick from City Hall. Yeah. So it was weird.
You know, I wonder, you know, they're trying to pass the Homeless Bill of Rights, which will allow people to urinate in public without a fine. Just think of all the people that go to the Dogtown parades and the St. Patrick parades.
Mhm.
They don't have to worry about public urination laws anymore if this is passed.
Yeah,
I
I
guess that's a
think-
good thing for everyone now.
I think
It
there's
would-
been a lot of people who've gone to Mardi Gras that got arrested for indecent exposure.
Now that will be no longer because we have to, of course, placate the homeless, which I don't want to. I'm not trying to kick the homeless, to kick them when they're down. You know, everyone has had hard times in their life. These folks have had particularly hard times, but I don't think making laws that enable their self-destructive behavior necessarily helps them in the long run. That's my big push on that. And as I've said many times before, it seems that a lot of these folks enjoy that street life and don't want to live in a shelter. They don't want to live a normal, settled life. They find a freedom in not having a boss, not having a job, not having someone tell them where they can live and all of that. I understand that in a strange sort of way, but it's much bigger. And David Stokes says this all the time, which I tell him is very controversial, but he says we don't have a homeless problem. I'm quoting him verbatim. He's saying that there are plenty of housing stock in the community. It's just that it's priced to a point where it's not affordable to a lot of Americans, which that sounds like a good argument.
Yeah, on the Right Mind show with Todd Showalter on Saturday, we were talking about this exact issue with the homeless people,
Mhm.
and my theory was that they liked the transient
Yeah.
lifestyle, so giving them a tiny home isn't going to fix anything. So I don't know what you do. Maybe you issue each person an Iron Man suit that they can just be protected in and get from place to place, and, you know,
Should they have
go to the bathroom in the suit.
Should they have a place? I mean, should there be like 20 acres? I don't know where you'd put it, but 20 acres put out somewhere where they can, you give them what do you call them? Potty putties,
Porta potty.
You give them porta potties. You give them something where they can have some running water, something where they can have a civilization, but they can still camp out and do their thing. Is that the solution? Just house them somewhere.
I think you just get a Chick-fil-A gift card with a couple $100 and give them out, and I think that should take care of it.
Chick-fil-A is the answer to everything, isn't it?
Of course.
That's good
They've got
food.
bathrooms in there. They've got food, and it's a religious organization.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, Joey, I want to remind everyone on Thursday, October 12th, I will be moderating a town hall by the Republican Party of St. Louis. It's called Your City, Your Voice. The candidates that will be there, or the representatives, or the office holders that will be there, will be Andrew Bailey, Attorney General of Missouri, Jay Ashcroft, the state of Missouri Secretary of State, and David Stokes, who's not an elected official, but he has run for office before. He's Director of Municipal Policy, and you hear him every Tuesday, and you hear him tomorrow at 4:25. And we'll be talking about strengthening safety, ensuring integrity, fostering prosperity. I am the moderator. The event starts at 6:30 to 7:30. It's at the St. Louis Police Officers Association at 3710 Hampton, St. Louis, Missouri 63109. It's hosted, of course, by the Republican Party, City of St. Louis Central Committee. It's free to the public. Come early to submit your questions. Be part of history. To our knowledge, this is the first time a town hall event with the Attorney General and Secretary of State has taken place in the city of St. Louis. So rally your neighbors and friends. Come and ask the burning questions that keep you awake at night. Let's just get it off early. Troy, what's the burning question that keep you up at night and keep it clean?
My goodness. I mean, is everyone going to leave the city of St. Louis? It seems like it. So I don't know how you keep people here. That's the burning question. I was over in Maryland Heights the other day, and I saw KMOV Channel 4's new headquarters, and I was like, oh, yeah, they left the city, too.
I forgot about that. They have. Tim Jones and I talk about this often because we've been traveling a lot the last year or so, and we've been going to some pretty major cities, metropolises, and the one difference that you see there that you don't see here is you see a lot of cranes in the downtown areas, building new skyscrapers, building new buildings. You also see a lot of construction work regarding building new highways and new roads. You don't see that in St. Louis. I think there is one development that's going on in Clayton. You see a crane. I think there's one here in St. Louis. I'm not sure. Maybe Ballpark Village is doing something. But other than that, there's just no growth in St. Louis, and it saddens me to say that because I wasn't born here, but I was raised here, and the city is dying. There's nobody. Everybody the politicians want to do the status quo. There's nobody that just has this out-of-the-box ideas and just say, we need to do this to change St. Louis or we're dying. It's the same old fights. You know, I was talking with Mary Teresa today. We were talking about the city of St. Louis, how, I said, it's sad that the Board of Aldermen president, Lewis Reed and Jeffrey Boyd, it's sad that they went to jail for embezzlement and bribery, but it's also sad for the city of St. Louis because they were the two sane voices that were still left on the board. I mean, they were Democrats, but they were moderates. What we have now with Megan Green and Tashara Jones and Cori Bush as the mayor, you've got San Francisco type of leadership in St. Louis right now. And I think evidence of that is this no public urination law that they're trying to pass. That's something that you hear in San Francisco. The media has done a great job of hiding what's going on in San Francisco, but San Francisco is a mess. They can't hide the fact that downtown businesses are leaving. That's something they have to report, but they don't report how bad it is that people are living on sidewalks, that people are defecating and urinating on the streets, that San Francisco, which many consider one of the most beautiful cities in the United States and the world, now is a hellhole. But they won't talk to you about or tell you about that. It gets out when conservatives go to San Francisco and tape it for themselves, or you as a tourist, you see it for yourselves. But other than that, you hear nothing about it, and a big part of that is because Nancy Pelosi, of course, is from San Francisco, and they can't shed any bad light on her that all she did was amass power in Washington, D.C., but really didn't do much to help out her constituents. So coming up, Joey, we're going to have Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at Red State and host of More to the Point commentary on News Talk STL. And I can only imagine what they're talking about on Red State. I'm sure most of the stories are about the massacre in Israel. And, I am a part-time writer for them. I don't write as often as I'd like to, but I'm telling you, they have crack writers and reporters, and they have gotten scoops that other mainstream publications have not. They have plenty of experts, military, political, foreign policy, that are writers for redstate.com. So I'm sure that Susie Moore and the writers there have it well covered of the ongoing situation in Israel.
Yeah, her commentary today, you and I noticed, and then the listeners noticed. She sounded very emotional today about the Hamas stuff. So we got to ask her about that and see if maybe she was holding back tears while she recorded that.
Remind me of that, because you know my memory. I'll forget as soon as I finish this sentence. But yeah, I did. When I heard the commentary, I asked you. I was like, was she emotional there? Was she crying there? I could hear it in her voice.
Yeah, when she sent it to me, she said it was hard to get through, so it must be.
I mean, some of the heartbreaking stories, as I said earlier, just imagine your loved one's murder being uploaded to their Facebook account, and that video was filmed on their own phone. I mean, just the barbarism that is involved in this operation is just beyond me, and it's. Look, there's always two sides to every story. I will never be on the Squad side or Cori Bush or the AOC, who says that Israel is an apartheid state and they are oppressing the Palestinians. Palestinians have more rights in Israel than they would in Jordan or the other surrounding Arab countries. Everyone knows that there have been plenty of opportunities over these last 30, 40 years for there to be a peace deal between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Arafat had a deal with Rabin to have a partition state, and at the last minute, the Palestine PLO leader turned it down. And then what makes many folks believe that the Palestinians really don't want peace with Israel. They want to destroy Israel and wipe them off the map. And many of the charters of these terrorist groups, that's the one thing that they have in it, is to completely wipe Israel off the map. But as we've seen for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, the Jewish people are very resilient. They have had people try to annihilate them, and they haven't been successful. You know, one thing that'll be very interesting to see regarding Israeli politics is Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been under investigation, and his wife for corruption charges. He became prime minister again this year. He and President Joe Biden have a very frosty relationship. He has declared war, of course, and said that they will do what is necessary to reclaim their people and reclaim what they lost. But I'm wondering though, after he wins this war, which I see Israel doing, what will happen with his political fate? Will he look like the strong leader that led his country to war and to victory? Or will ordinary Israeli citizens blame him for such a monumental lapse by the intelligence community? This happened on his watch. That is undeniable. This is the largest, as we've said, killing of Jewish people since the Yom Kippur War. Before that was World War II. So somebody's going to have to be held accountable. It's still very early in this situation, and it's still very fluid. And at this stage, people should have arms wrapped around them and have them be comforted. And the Israeli government should tell their people that they have a plan to get their citizens back and a plan to keep them safe in the future. So I'm worried. I've been watching politics and these type of things for a long time. I've always been a junkie of it. I'm 57 years old. But this situation really, really worries me, foremost because we have a very weak president right now leading us. And I think that is part of the reason why we're seeing all of these different conflicts around the world. You know, we've talked about today Ukraine and Russia. We're talking about Israel, Hamas, the Taliban wanting to come to the region to help fight. But, you know, there are other actors that are just as dangerous as these folks. We've had North Korea. They have been shooting rockets towards Japan, testing those rockets. You still have, and a lot of people forget about this, we have American troops that are fighting in Syria, fighting against terrorists. And then in Africa, Boko Haram and other offshoots of these terrorist groups, they are wreaking havoc in Africa and trying to establish Islamic militant bases there. So the world is on fire. We don't have a leader that's up to the challenge. We have our own division here in the United States. It all spells up or counts up to something that is not very good. So I am worried, but I know ultimately I put my faith in Jesus Christ and the Lord, and that's where I should have my faith, not so much in our leaders and man. So that's my 2 cents. We'll see what Susie Moore thinks about this issue when we come back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, driving the leftist crazy all afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Clear skies tonight will drop to 44 degrees. Sunny on Tuesday, a little warmer with a high of 71. Increasing clouds Tuesday night will drop to 52. And for Wednesday, there's a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly during the morning hours. The afternoon looks mostly sunny and warmer with a high of 79. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
The news and talk
There is not a shred of evidence that President Biden committed an impeachable offense
that matters to St. Louis.
And frankly, it discredits everything. There's no basis for him.
1019 and 94.1.
I don't think they're going to stop him.
News Talk STL.
Hasn't it been nice throwing the windows wide the last few weeks? Well, unfortunately, pretty soon we're probably going to be battening down the hatches. If you're looking at your windows and thinking these aren't really up to snuff for these rough heartland winters, I want you to give our friends at Window World a call. Window World, simply the best for less. 314-993-1800. Why should you do that? Window World, one of only 2 window companies in the entire country that carry the coveted Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Just over 20 years in the business, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of 70,000 of our neighbors and friends here in the region. They use a double strength of glass, incredibly durable, incredibly thermally efficient. If you already got Window World windows, they also do siding and entry doors. Get that process started today. 314-993-1800. So many things set them apart from their competitors. Number one is their commitment to customer service, exemplified by that lifetime warranty covering all parts, glass breakage, and labor, the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. Any questions? Get that free in-home estimate lined up today. Call them 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800, 24/7 at windowworld.com, windowworld.com.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary, but that's not the case when you go to Michael's Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michael's, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peters. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
St. Louis City, get ready to make history. Your City, Your Voice Town Hall is here, and it's more than you've ever seen before. Imagine this, Attorney General Andrew Bailey and Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft in person, side by side, hearing your concerns, taking on your burning questions. It's October 12th. Rally your neighbors, come and ask the questions that keep you awake at night. Visit stlouisrepublicans.com for details.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down.
Now, who could imagine a war, right? With people pouring into our country and we have no idea from where they come. The same people, in many cases, the same people that just attacked Israel. You know that, right? Can you imagine what this guy has done to us, what he's done to us? That would have never happened. The attack on Israel would never, ever have happened. The attack on Ukraine would never have happened.
Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. It is 5:26, and looking forward to speaking with our next guest.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you. Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
Susan, we always enjoy your more to the points. They're very enlightening, and look forward to hearing them, especially when I'm in the studio, when I'm have captured attention. Today, I noticed, and some of the other listeners noticed your commentary today, and it was, and you can understand this happening. You seem to be very emotional in your more commentary today. Can you talk more on that?
I sure can, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, not your imagination. I was pretty emotional about what I was talking about, which is what everybody's talking about right now, of course. It's the war going on in Israel and the horrible attacks perpetrated by Hamas over the weekend. I mean, I think most people are probably emotional to a certain extent over it, but I've got I have family members who've spent a fair amount of time in Israel, and I have friends that are still there, and so it kind of brings it home even a little bit closer, and so it's hard not to get kind of caught up in it. And I was following the news very closely all day today, or all weekend, of course, and doing that kind of brought up a lot of those emotions. So I kind of wanted to put that into a commentary and kind of get out there the fact that as much as I'm pretty good at looking at both sides of things on a regular basis, this isn't one of those situations that really lends itself to that, I don't think.
I talked about that earlier in the show. You always want to get public on your side, but how do you get the public on the side of your cause when you're murdering innocent women and children? It seems like it's beyond that to me, that it's a thirst for blood more than having your own state.
Yeah, I don't think the actions taken are about persuasion or anything other than, I guess, as you said, a bloodthirst and a conviction that they're in the right and that anybody who opposes them is wrong, if not, subhuman. So therefore, what they're doing is justified. And, I think it's very difficult for most people to. I mean, I think our instinct and what we're raised to do is to try and empathize and see other sides and see other viewpoints. And I think that's important when you're talking about political differences and even, cultural differences, all those sorts of things. But I think there's a certain point where you get to when you're talking about actions like these that are taken where it's not about understanding where the other side is coming from. It's about trying to figure out how to put it to a stop quickly.
Susie, I know you're a political junkie like me and probably watched all the Sunday shows yesterday. A guest on all of them was Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. How infuriating was it to you to hear him on all the shows say that the $6 billion that the Biden administration transferred to Iran had nothing to do with this attack because the money hasn't been sent yet and is only designated for humanitarian needs?
It's one of those things where it's kind of par for the course. Every administration spins. This one is particularly adept at it. But it is a little infuriating when it's like you're expecting us to buy that. You're expecting us to just overlook the fact that that's not how money works. And in the process of somewhat defending their policies and their actions, he also outright admitted that they know that Iran always uses money to fund terrorism. So it kind of turns everything on its head. That it begs the question, well, then why would you ever give them additional money?
One thing that I'd like to see more criticism of, we should be mourning the dead, and this was a horrible incident. But I think we should be talking more about, in the early hours of this attack, that the Biden administration was basically telling Israel to stand down and to not fight. And I think this just shows that this administration are a bunch of appeasers, even though they did retract that statement minutes later. But still, for their first instinct to be, hey, stand down when you're having a land, sea, and air attack, what does that say to you, Susan?
Well, it says a couple of things. I think one of the things that's readily apparent is that there's a little bit of disarray in terms of who's in charge and who's calling the shots in this administration. One of the things that it kind of ties into that stood out to me was, just as I was drifting off to sleep Friday night, I was, of course, scrolling Twitter, and I happened across the alerts that thing, sirens are going off across Israel. And I don't know why. I mean, because that happens not infrequently. Yeah. And I retweeted it. Something made me think this is like something to note. And I woke up the next morning early at like 5:30 our time, and I thought, oh, yeah, this is big. And I kept looking for something from the White House or from the administration, like some statement, and there was nothing. I mean, the first thing I saw, aside from that horrible State Department comment that I think you were referring to, was Biden talking about how when he, got up around 7:30 or 8, he started looking at this and I thought, well, wait a second. By then it had been going on for like 8 or 10 hours, and you're just getting like brought up to speed on. I don't know. That said a lot right there. The fact that there have been multiple statements issued, usually on social media, that they've then retracted, including even from Blinken himself, tells me that the people that are in charge of putting out these statements, A, are maybe young and not very well experienced, and B, are not running them through appropriate channels before just posting them.
You know, one thing I want to ask you about is Ukraine. I brought this up with Jim Talent earlier in the show. You know, support for Ukraine is kind of going down a little bit, not in Congress, but among the American public, because we are spending a lot of money and we're spending our arms over there. It doesn't seem to be making much progress. How bad do you think this situation in Israel affects Ukraine funding, and will our attention be getting away from that war and more on Israel?
Well, it doesn't exist. It doesn't come up in a vacuum. I mean, it's impossible not to recognize that if you're going to be giving support and supplies and funding in one direction, then that necessarily affects your ability to do so in another direction. Not that you can't walk and chew gum, and not that both causes may not be worthy. But yes, the American public has in large part grown weary of what's going on in Ukraine, not because they don't necessarily support the Ukrainian people or don't object to Russia's invasion, but because it's been dragging on and on and on, and it seems like this endless ask for more and more and more with no clear end in sight and no clear objectives stated and no real coherence about, you know, what exactly is, you know, what's achievable, what's the goal, what's our end point. And those are legitimate questions to be asking when you're talking about billions and billions of taxpayer dollars. And, you know, then you see this, I mean, horrific, not that the things that have happened in Ukraine aren't horrific, but, you know, this was sudden out of the blue and just so violent and vicious that people can't help but be, you know, their attention captured by it. And, you know, Israel is basically our primary, if not only ally in the Middle East, and there are a number of American citizens involved. So I don't think it has to be an either-or discussion or decision, but I do think it's going to perhaps highlight even more the questions that people are raising about the situation with our funding and support of Ukraine.
Suze, yesterday afternoon, my wife read me Cori Bush's statement on Hamas's incursion into Israel. And while she was reading it, you know, she read a couple of sentences. I was like, okay, yeah, that's good. She read on a little further. I was like, yeah, that's reasonable. Read on one more. I was like, yeah, I don't see anything wrong. And then she went into the, you know, the bash Israel, that it's both their faults.
Right.
And this would have never happened if it wasn't for Israel being an apartheid state, you know, all of that rhetoric. You guys have an article on Red State about Rashida Tlaib has a twisted display outside her congressional office. What's up with that? I haven't heard that.
Oh, she's got the Palestinian flag.
Okay.
Up outside her office, and she didn't just put it up.
Okay.
I mean, it's been there, but she's continuing to display it at a time when obviously.
And she is Palestinian, so we have to put that in there. Yeah.
Correct. So I have to be fair about that, but it's one of those things where the messaging and it's like it sounds like you just described Cori Bush's statement. So like the first 3 paragraphs basically sound like platitudes, and then she really gets to what she really thinks, which is I'm going to both sides this, and it's really Israel's fault after all. And, you know, if ever there's a time to refrain from blaming the victim, I would think this would be it. So just sort of the unified voice on the part of the squad, and then the emblematic display, it sounds a sour note.
All right, let's get into a little politics here. The RNC has told Chris Christie, and I think Ramaswamy, wasn't it, that they went ahead and had a unsanctioned debate, that they would both be banned from any future RNC debates. Suze, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the RNC gets to set its rules. It gets to, you know, it's the party getting to set things up the way it wants to, and if the candidates want to participate in that party's apparatus, there are certain hoops they're going to have to jump through. Now,
what's wrong with them debating, though? What's I don't have.
Oh,
Tell me that. What do you see the issue with that?
Don't mistake me saying that the party has the right to do it. With
Okay.
The party is right to
Okay.
do it. Those are two different things.
All right.
They can make the rules however they want. That doesn't mean I'm going to agree with them.
Got it.
No, I think the more debates, the more discussions there are, the better off they are. But the party wants to have that monopoly stranglehold on, what the candidates are doing and their official debates and discussions. And so this is one way to sort of cut that off. No, I don't agree with it at all. I think it's great to have candidates out there. Now, I understand that there could be a danger of things kind of getting loosey-goosey, particularly when you have multiple candidates.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this is just about the party exerting its control over the process.
Susie, RFK has declared himself an independent. Here he is saying it, and let's talk about it when we come back.
This country is ready for a history-making change. They are ready to reclaim their freedom, their independence. And
I saw that and I thought, is that something?
And that's why I'm here today. I'm here to declare myself an independent candidate.
Susie, initial reports said that a RFK candidacy hurts Joe Biden. Now reports are saying that it could potentially hurt Donald Trump because he's been anti-vaccine and some other issues. Reports are that the Trump administration has an Oppo research file on him, and they are about to release it. What's your thoughts? And who does RFK hurt, Trump or Biden?
Yes.
That's a typical lawyer answer.
He basically hurts the established wing of both parties. Not that Trump is super duper establishment, but he does kind of come with some of that establishment pull. I mean, he's far and away the leader in the Republican primary, and according to the polls. And so, I think I could see both parties not liking the fact that he might take some of their voters away, and he might, because I think there's a lot of people that are just fed up overall with the parties themselves and the way that we're being kind of like led down the chute to these two quote unquote inevitable competitors at the end that no one really seems to be like over the top enthused about. I shouldn't say no one. A lot of people are not over the top enthused about. There are definitely ardent Trump supporters. There are not ardent Biden supporters. There are ardent anti-Trump supporters.
Susie, the border, as you know, is out of control. A report came out last week that said that nearly half of the 5 million migrants encountered in the first 26 months of the Biden administration had no confirmed departure from the United States. Eric Adams and other politicians have headed down to Mexico. Here's Eric Adams.
We can't have a rule that one can come from anywhere on the globe and come to New York City and remain in New York City as long as they want, and taxpayers must pick up the cost. This is a $5 billion price tag. This fiscal year, $12 billion over 3 years. That money is coming from somewhere. It's unfair to the migrant seekers and asylum seekers, and it's also unfair to everyday taxpayers, New Yorkers. And I wanted to communicate with the local CBOs, local elected leaderships there, and the local citizen and residents to learn from them, but also to send a clear message on their medias. Yeah. New York is out of room, and we need to communicate that.
Susie, I'll have to admonish Joy later because he didn't put in the part where Eric Adams talked about Joe Biden needs to close the border. Was that missing out of there?
Oh, I know. I'm so sorry.
I'm just kidding. Your thoughts on that, on Eric Adams, Mayor Adams there, Susie?
My thoughts are this. It was big news a couple weeks ago when the mayor of Dallas declared that he was switching from being a Democrat to a Republican. And apparently Eric Adams has decided to stage him because that was a Republican talking to him.
I agree. I agree.
The conversion was swift, wasn't it?
It's amazing how your city being overrun by migrants that you can't afford, and more are coming by the busload and trainload. It's amazing how all of a sudden you become a border hawk.
Isn't it, though? Reality bites. I mean, but I'm more power to him. Go, Eric.
Yeah, I think it would have more credibility if they also they have been criticizing the president, especially Mayor Adams. But you've got to talk about shutting down the border. And as you know, they are terrified of talking about enforcing anything dealing with the border. You see how much slack Biden is getting by rebuilding parts of the wall from his constituency.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, anything that goes against the preferred progressive narrative risks, the ire of the woke mob and the progressive mob. And that's kind of what's running the show these days. But the bottom line is it's a little difficult to escape reality. And I think it's sinking in, at least for some of these leaders, that there are consequences to not enforcing your border.
Exactly. We've been speaking with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor, Red State, host of More to the Point Commentary. Susie, is there anything you want to specifically promote or highlight?
Well, I will just say, like most media, we are covering, obviously, the situation in Israel very closely, and we'll continue to do so. But we're also covering other items as well. In fact, for instance, did you know that the Biden administration has elected to introduce grizzlies into Washington state?
I have not heard that. What could go wrong?
Right. See? Exactly.
It's probably in the new. It probably want to do it around a new subdivision, don't they?
Those are the kinds of things that you get from Red State. Not only do you get the hard-hitting, gritty news, but you get those sort of unusual stories that you might not get elsewhere. Yeah. So I highly encourage people to check it out.
What could go wrong? Susie, thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Have a great week.
Thanks, Chris. Have a great evening.
You too. One last segment left, Joy, and maybe we'll wrap up some of the news of the day, especially the situation in Israel, politics. Who knows? Maybe we'll lighten it up with concert where you went this weekend.
Bring it on.
We'll talk about that on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Clear skies tonight will drop to 44 degrees. Sunny on Tuesday, a little warmer with a high of 71. Increasing clouds Tuesday night will drop to 52. And for Wednesday, there's a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly during the morning hours. The afternoon looks mostly sunny and warmer with a high of 79. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Since when is it okay for members of Congress to badmouth our allies around the world? We'll get a local take on that from Senator Nick Schroer, Tuesday at 9:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
You know, the more and more foreboding economic news that I hear, particularly when it comes to regional banks, the more I'm glad that I don't have my money in some big and personal bank, that I have my money and my business accounts with Royal Banks of Missouri. Royal Banks of Missouri, of course, is a full-service, locally owned and operated independent community bank. They've been providing unparalleled service to St. Louis residents like us since 1964. Royal Banks of Missouri, they pride themselves on having the highest financial ratings in St. Louis for stability and strength. How important is that nowadays? Royal has 17 convenient banking locations throughout St. Louis, including locations in Hannibal, across the river in Jerseyville and Granite City, Illinois, and 2 locations in St. Charles. They also have 200 ATMs across the Midwest, so you can easily access your accounts no matter where you are. Royal Banks offers a full range of financial services to meet all your personal and business needs, whether you need auto loans or home mortgages, online and mobile banking, or wealth management services. They've got you covered. Visit Royal online at royalbanksmo.com to learn more about their services and to find a location near you. Royal Banks, Missouri, the community bank that is in your community.
We're here with our great friends, Kathy and Rob Connor from Connor Roofing. One thing I love about your company, Kathy, is customer service.
We pride ourselves on making sure our customers are happy, and you can check out our Google reviews. We're very proud of that as well. And if you're not happy, we will do what it takes to fix the problem.
Well, that's just it. You set expectations, and we like to really educate our customers, and it gets done the way we said we were going to do it.
Call Connor Roofing, 314-375-7475, or ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com.
Under a Trump administration, gasoline-powered engines will be allowed, but child sexual mutilation will be banned, if that's okay with you. If that's okay.
548 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. That is former President Trump last weekend at a New Hampshire rally. Telling a little truth there. That's what it seems the Biden administration, the Democrats want. They are on a mission to mutilate our children and confuse our children on what exactly gender is. Hey, Joey, didn't Donald Trump at one time was involved with the WWE and Vince McMahon? I think I stopped watching it about that time. But wasn't he a...
Yeah, they had a hair versus hair match, and
wow.
The loser had to get shaved, and I think we all know that Vince McMahon lost that one.
I didn't know. What year was that about?
Oh, I'd have to look that up. And, of course, Linda McMahon was in Trump's administration. Yeah.
How could we forget that? Now, the reason I bring that up, they are connected, Joey, that you are our concert entertainment guy here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show and for News Talk STL. And I heard that the WWE was in town over the weekend, and you brought up some names that I hadn't heard in a long time that are dead but didn't wrestle, right? Right. King Kong Brody, which I had no idea he was no longer with us.
So first off, 2007 was the hair versus hair.
Okay.
Trump versus Vince.
Well,
but
16 years.
We were talking about wrestling at the Chase.
King Kong Brody.
Yeah, King Kong Brody. I watched, there's this great docu-series on Vice TV about the dark side of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And they had an episode about King Kong Brody and how he died in Puerto Rico after a dispute about payment. And it's just, he's legendary. He really kept kayfabe alive. He made you believe it was real. And I think back then we all thought it was real.
You know, what's amazing, though, what's happening with a lot of these wrestlers from the golden age that have died, it's been from complications from steroids, from heart attacks and
pain pills
and things of that nature. I had the high honor a couple years ago of meeting Nature Boy Ric Flair. Woo! It was amazing. Just, you know, you don't think...
Johnny's place, they have a picture right when you walk in. It's the first thing you see.
Really?
Is them with Ric Flair.
I love Ric Flair. You know, you really don't think about the type of pounding that these guys put on their bodies doing that. It's almost like football almost because of all the grueling things that they have to do to try to pull off the illusion that it's fake It's fake, right?
It's choreographed
Is it fake?
and it's predetermined, but it hurts every single time. Every time you jump from the third turnbuckle and land flat on your back, that is going to hurt.
And you know what, too? A lot, and Joe, you've heard of this before. There have been a lot of performers, musical performers, that like Rick James, Prince, Michael Jackson, the ones that had elaborate dance routines and really moved themselves, how later in life, you know, they got addicted to pain pills because of all of their dancing and all of that.
Yeah,
I was going somewhere with that, but I forgot.
Is that where we first heard about fentanyl or something? Whatever
Yeah.
Michael Jackson was on, he called it like mother's milk or something. And they had to get needles out for him to go to sleep every night.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up all this WWE wrestling stuff, you went to a wrestling match this weekend, correct?
Yeah, Friday Night SmackDown was in town. Walked right over to Enterprise Center.
I didn't intend to, but I actually went to a wrestling match myself on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, my goodness.
I did, yeah.
Were you the ref? What were
I was
you?
not the ref. I was a spectator with my mouth on the ground. And if those of you don't know what I'm talking about, my wife and I attended the Young Republicans annual fundraiser barbecue. They had most of the statewide candidates, of course, were there to give their 5-minute speech. Jay Ashcroft, of course, Secretary of State, is running for governor. Bill Eigel from St. Charles County, he is a state senator, of course. He is running for governor as well. There were some state senators running for some other statewide offices, but it got a little heated, Joey. Jay Ashcroft, spoke first. He brought up a very contentious issue that has been between the two campaigns about buying land from China and not allowing that, And so he talked about that he had, Jay Ashcroft, that he had supported a bill that outlawed that and said his 5 minutes, and everybody clapped politely, of course, and then Senator Eigel came up and he immediately brought up the Chinese land deal and said that Jay was not telling the truth, that he did support that, and he, said it in some colorful words that I may not have used, not colorful cursing, but in some words that call out people's character, that they may be liars. And so it kind of had a little back and forth between them arguing on the points of the bill. And it was surprising because usually it's something like that. It's, you give your stump speech or whatever, your 5 minutes, you go shake hands and you leave. And it is still early in the campaign. It was kind of surprising to see fireworks like that so early.
I'm worried about you moderating this thing on Thursday, if you'll be able to keep them under control.
I think I will because, first of all, Joy, it's at the St. Louis City Police Officers headquarters. So I'm sure we will have pretty much a lot of security there. So I'm not worried so much about that. But, yeah, that was very interesting. Those that attended the barbecue yesterday, you saw quite a spectacle, something you don't see this early in the campaign. There were some folks there that were approving of Senator Eigel's what he was doing. Some others were not approving of that. And there, Joey. Some were not approving of that and were kind of catcalling from the audience that, to move on. This
World
is not the
Star.
place. Yes, it was almost World Star. I was like, man, I should have been videotaping this. What was I thinking? But I was just sitting there and I'm a 20-year political professional, and I was just in awe of that.
Where was the barbecue pit at? Was it safe from everyone else?
Actually,
Eigel likes to set things on fire.
Actually, it's a barbecue, but it is prepared beforehand, and that's what I thought last year. I thought it was a barbecue. I was like, oh, they're gonna have barbecue pits outside?
Yeah.
No, it's beforehand.
So you were safe.
It was safe, and it was a nice event. Young Republicans had a nice turnout, not as high as a turnout as when we hosted it last year. I want to throw.
Oh my goodness, that's a burn.
Tim and I were the host last year, and there were more people there. But I think they still did very well and reached their goals. So I got to give a little shout out for News Talk STL. Got to see an old friend who moderated the event from another station, and I haven't seen him in a while. So it was a good event. Ate some brisket.
I think
drank some beer.
You were saying that Scott Vaughn, our friend from This Week in Missouri Politics, may have some video footage of this.
There are rumors that Scott Vaughn, because they did have a videographer at the event, there's rumors that Scott Vaughn has the video. So We may see that. I think on his show, he has a midweek show on Facebook. So he may see that, or we may see that in the Missouri Times.
I'll look forward to that and see if you're in the background.
I hope not. You know what? Maybe Katie's listening too. Maybe we should try to get Scott Fawn on this week.
Oh, yeah. I bet he's got some even more deeper gossip.
Exactly. He is the man that does all that. So, Joey, good show today. My partner, Tim Jones, of course, was not here today. He will be in tomorrow. Tomorrow we have David Stokes from the Show Me Institute, and we'll have a myriad of other guests coming to you. And I'm sure there will be further developments on the war in Israel. Hopefully, it will not progress and get much worse than that. We send our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers to the people of Israel and to those listening of Jewish descent. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Up next is Larry Connors USA from 6 to 8. Larry will have more coverage on the war in Israel. You can listen to 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe.
Everybody wants the economy to grow, right? But how do you feel about officials in effect giving your tax money to developers for their private projects? In the past 15 years, the city of St. Louis alone has diverted $709 million to developers in tax subsidies or abatements. That was money that would have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. Even worse, numerous studies around the country show these kinds of subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. There's nothing wrong with developers wanting to build new shopping centers or company headquarters, but why should they get tax subsidies to do so? If it's a good business idea, great, but let them assume the risks as well as any possible rewards. It's time to reform economic